Conversations across time. Conversations.
The fact of the matter is, I was the 8th president, by the way, of
Yes,
the
I'm so
National
sorry.
Rifle Association, and my fellow General Burnside was one of the founders. And the original charter and the original intent of the organization came to us because the Union soldiers had no conception of how to handle and how to fire and how to maintain firearms. Those Southern boys during the war had us beat 100 to 1, 1,000 to 1. And we felt that if there were another war and we had to have people serve in the military, we would need people that were better prepared to handle weapons. And so General Bernstein started the organization as basically a gun club to teach people the maintenance of the weapons, how to fire the weapons properly, and how to care for the weapons. And basically that's what our organization was. We were originally chartered, I believe, in New York State, and it was a shooting club.
And the real issue here is not whether we taught people how to shoot well after the Civil War, but the real issue here is how can we limit or solve the problems that are created by the current interpretation, the Second Amendment, which was a direct result of a Supreme Court case in 2008 called Heller.
You, President Grant, had a terrific civil rights background. I mean, you certainly put the federal troops in the South to make certain that the newly freed slaves would be able to vote. You had a record that was peerless.
If you polled the people in this country, I'm sure that 80% of the people would say there should be some kind of ban on purchasing an assault rifle for any purpose.
And my guest, President Ulysses Grant, and former defense counsel,
It's okay.
Mr. Irv
Not a bad
Madnick.
word.
Hi, my name's Mark Hoffman. I'm a retired history teacher and a proud member of the Conversation Across Time family. Tonight's show features the title Masters of the Universe, and on the panel with host Vivian Crawford and co-host Babette Joseph are John Foster Dulles, Toussaint Louverture, and President Woodrow Wilson. They will discuss the role of the Masters of the Universe, or the elite class, and the common people, exploitation and colonialism, especially the exploitation of the Haitian people, and why the Masters of the Universe may get taken down or may survive. Please stay tuned for a provocative and entertaining show.
Conversations across time. 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 Conversations across time.
Good evening and welcome to Conversations Across Time. Tonight I am joined by President Woodrow Wilson. Welcome, President Wilson.
It's great to be here, Ms. Crawford.
I am so looking forward to chatting with you. Seated next to President Wilson is General Toussaint Louverture.
It's my pleasure to be here.
And we are delighted to have you here.
Thank you.
Seated next to General Toussaint Louverture is Secretary John Foster Dulles. And many of you will recognize Secretary Dulles because he is someone who condescends to come to this show often, and we are never at a loss for the amount of hubris that he brings.
If I must.
And seated to my left is my co-host, who's always here, former state representative Babette Josephs. Welcome, Babby.
Thank you. My pleasure.
And so tonight, we are here to discuss the year 1971. Now, I'll tell you, that's our departure point, 1971, because 1971 was a very interesting time. Two things happened in 1971 that we want our audience to bear record. And that is, in 1971, at that time, he was a private attorney. And this gentleman wrote a letter to his dear friend who was the head of the United States Chamber of Commerce. And of course, I am talking about someone who 2 months later became a Supreme Court justice, and that is Justice Lewis Powell. When he was an attorney, wrote a manifesto. And that manifesto came to be known as the Powell Manifesto, and that was a document in which he outlined to his dear friend the dangers of what was happening to capitalism in this country, and there was a call to arm for all of the business interests to get together to be protected against what they felt was encroaching socialism. The Powell Manifesto was a secret document, and of course, when the public learned of this document, they were appalled, but nevertheless, Lewis Powell ended up being on the Supreme Court, and he ruled in conjunction with his beliefs that were expressed in the Powell Manifesto. The next incident that happened was the Davos Economic Forum. And Davos Forum started in 1971, as I said, and Davos has been described, the Economic Forum at Davos has been described by people as a bunch of billionaires getting together to decide how to carve up the world. So you can understand why we feel it's important to talk about this, and you will now understand why the complexion, the makeup of this panel. Because, of course, in 1971, many things had happened. Lyndon Johnson's Great Society had happened, Medicare had happened, and wealthy people were just afraid that they were going to lose what they have. Now, President Woodrow Wilson is someone who, I guess the best way to describe President Woodrow Wilson is to say that he was Donald Trump with a PhD. So President Wilson, I want you to at least explain to our audience how you feel about the statement made by current President Donald Trump in which he referred to Haiti, hence General Louverture appearing. He referred to Haiti and other countries as being shithole countries.
I agreed with your President Trump, Ms. Crawford. The people that lived in Haiti and other African countries are inferior to the Anglo-Saxon people. And Haiti, in all respect to General Toussaint, is a shithole today, and it's always been a shithole in spite of his revolution to free it from
I think
Napoleon.
The United States made it what it is today, sir. Yourself included.
First of all, let's do a little background. Haiti was a French colony, and France wasn't happy about losing Haiti. It was the most profitable French colony.
Lots of natural resources.
Because of its natural resources. But I want General Toussaint to speak to you about that, because I believe that you are the embodiment of the Anglo-Saxon notion that there's a superiority as between races of color, as between whites and races of color. You sort of think that there's superiority. I mean, and you're joined by another one of your ilk, and that is John Foster Dulles, because all of the things that he did to harm people of color, thinking that there was a racial superiority. But General Toussaint, he says you heard your country described as a shithole country.
When I hear that Haiti was always a shithole country and still a shithole country, the only thing I can think of is the word ignorance. Because in order for any president or anybody to think that Haiti was and still a shithole country is just showing that you don't know anything about history. Haiti used to be the richest French colony. And France is what France is today because of Haiti in the 1700s.
Okay.
And Haiti, that Trump is calling a shithole country right now, is showing me Trump himself doesn't know anything about history.
You don't know anything about anything. Why should we be
And I
surprised?
can tell you, this country that Trump is calling a shithole country, and some companies like CNN call Haiti the poorest country of the Western Hemisphere.
Because you don't have,
Because-
people do not have the capacity
'Cause
of governing it.
'cause-
Excuse me, I'm not finished. You call yourself a general, a savage just screaming out of the jungle.
First, the
Screaming,
French.
wait. Hold on. Screaming out of the jungle. I mean,
You heard me.
Yeah, yes, and that's why I enjoy having you on the show, because the extent of your arrogance is just it's unbelievable.
And
I have plenty to be arrogant about, madam, because I am part of a class. I represent a class of people who intertwine
basically
between
useless.
government and finance, who know how both function. And you obviously do not.
And this jungle helped this class to be what this class is today.
Of course.
How so, may I
I
ask?
will tell you right now. Because in 1856, the American government sent their GIs to a small island south of Haiti, and they took over that island. And the Haitian people cannot step foot on that island. This island name is called La Navaz. We Haitians still don't know why the Americans don't want us to go to that island.
Well, there must be a
The name of the
military
island is?
installation.
La Navaz.
La Navaz.
Navase.
There's some kind of military installation, I would guess.
And from what I understand, on this island, they have some very good products. That's good when you are trying to plant food in this in America. You have potassium in this island, and the American government took it. Right now, in that shithole country that Trump calls Haiti, we have gold, we have oil, and we cannot touch that. Supposedly, this is a reserve for the American government. We have gold, we have oil, and we cannot touch that. Supposedly, this is a reserve for the American government.
Now, I want to
As
ask
it
you a
should
question.
be.
The
As
oil,
is, that is true,
wait a
sir.
minute, because I was amazed when I realized and you agreed to appear on this show. I did some research on Haiti, and I was amazed to find out, and I'm sure our audience is going to be amazed when they learn this, that Haiti has larger oil reserves than Venezuela.
Yes.
Now that's something. So when you have a president, a leader of the United States referring to Haiti as a shithole country, and you've got more oil reserves than Venezuela, it's unbelievable to me.
And we cannot touch it.
That's
Well,
right.
Because you're not competent to
I
govern
would
your own
guess-
economy.
I would guess that our president, who I refer to as Agent Orange because I can't think of a better way to characterize him, has no idea of that, none. But I would like to ask you, is it our fault in France that Haiti is the poor country that it is?
You need to understand the Haitian history. After we became independent in 1804, we were too small and too black to do what we did in 1804.
Right.
We became independent and then we exported our revolution to South America. Simon Bolivar, the guy who liberated South America, came to Haiti. We gave him money, we gave him guns, we gave him soldiers to go and liberate South America. That's why Spain will never forgive us. The English will never forgive us. The American will never forgive us.
That's true.
Because of what we did. Venezuela, their flag was created in a small town in Haiti they call Jacmel. That's where the Venezuelan flag was created.
Huh.
And when Simon Bolivar came to Haiti, so he could create his flag in Jacmel, we gave him money and soldiers to go fight the Spanish to liberate South America.
So that's why the Spanish took the position towards Haiti that they did.
Exactly.
Because you were helping to liberate some of its colonies.
Exactly.
But-
We're talking about Venezuela, Bolivia, Panama, Chile, and now why the English will not forgive us? In 1957, we helped Ghana in Africa to become independent. Used to be an English colony.
That's
So
right.
that's why
See-
we are
see-
suffering right now.
So
But-
this Masters
but-
of the
but-
Universe
but-
concept
maybe
that we're
you're
talking
just
about.
not
But
competent
General,
enough to
see, well, you
govern
don't,
yourselves or your economy.
Yes, we
Gen-
are.
well, you don't understand, General, from America's point of view, and my point of view, and my predecessor's point of view, is that we viewed the Caribbean as our lake, our bathtub, our place of cleansing. And my predecessor, Mr. Roosevelt, and of course the man that succeeded him, Taft, and myself, we wanted to control that area of the world. So the fact that Haiti fermented revolution and was the bulwark, was the standard bearer of revolution for Latin America, was a thorn in our policy to dominate the Caribbean and protect American business interests in that area, as we should, because we deserve the profits of that area.
And how
We,
come?
That is
we,
true.
we,
That is
we
true.
had it. We
Why?
Wait a minute.
True.
because
Mr.
we are
President.
we are the
Because we're white.
masters of the universe,
That is so
and
true. That is very-
That's 'cause you're
we
white.
we deserve the
You
resources.
deserve nothing, Mr. Wilson,
I,
nothing.
No,
I,
I- but
concur
I
with
do.
Mr. Wilson. I mean,
course you do. Of
Because,
course you do.
excuse me, I concur with Mr. Wilson because the banking interests and financial interests that I have worked with in Sullivan and Cromwell, I'm sure you're familiar with that.
I am very familiar with Sullivan and Cromwell.
Yes, we have heavily investments in those nations, Venezuela, Haiti, and other
You know
nations.
what? I
And-
don't have an investment there. I don't care.
And we don't care that you don't have an investment because we dominate the world and you don't. Think of that.
Listen, Haiti was such a threat to us that when they assassinated their president in 1914, we had to send our
We
Marines to
didn't
make.
have to.
Yes,
We
we had
used
had
that
to
as an
protect
excuse
our
to
interests there,
dominate them.
and in fact, we took the gold from Haiti and we controlled the Haitian bank for 20 years.
That's
No,
why we were there.
No,
Gold.
you didn't go there to protect your interests.
No.
You went there to steal our reserve.
You're not calling me
gold.
a
That's
thief,
how-
are you, General?
Same
Same
thing,
thing,
same
same
thing.
thing.
In 1914.
I
Right.
agree.
When you went there, you went to the Haitian National Bank.
Yes.
That's where our reserve gold was. You stole it. You came here with it.
Yes.
Right, and now we wonder why it's a poor country?
Exactly. So it's impoverished. It's not the poorest country.
This big, enormous
They made it.
villain offshore
only
came
thing-
and took
the
everything
only
away.
thing Haiti
and then
was-
they said, you can't govern yourself because you're poor.
Exactly, and that makes no sense.
Cute.
It makes perfectly good sense to me.
Does not. The United States should really praise Haiti.
Yes.
Because, I'm going to tell you why. Because when the English were coming back
Yes.
in the early 1800s, Napoleon in France, so what Haiti was doing, Napoleon was forced to sell this part of the United States, they call Louisiana, all the way down to New Orleans.
Yes.
They had to sell that for $50 million. That's then United States became what it is today.
Had
It
not-
always was meant to be
No,
a
it was
great,
not.
powerful
Well,
nation.
now, wait a minute. You know, this is the whole notion that the whole United States notion of manifest destiny could never have happened without the Louisiana Purchase.
Amen to that.
Could never have
It
happened.
was the
And
person.
you will agree that you got it at a very that the United States bought all of that territory at an unbelievably
Because Napoleon was foolish.
low price.
Because Napoleon was foolish.
And the
He needed
Haitians
money. He
were
needed
smart.
money for his wars, and he had to, as you say, unload that colony. So therefore, we made, as you say, we may had a bargain. They lost, we gained. As part of our superiority.
No, that has nothing to do with being superior. The only
Why
thing
not?
is called bullying. That's what it's called.
Well,
Which is, of course,
Same thing, just
militarism.
about. I wouldn't praise it like that, but
Militarism.
you have to understand force is necessary to protect property. Am I not
Force
right,
is
Mr.
necessary
Wilson?
when
Absolutely,
you
and
can't
that's
get
why-
people to listen to you
That's
because
why
they're
I
not
sent-
logical.
That's why I had to send the Marines to Haiti, to the Dominican Republic, to Mexico to fight Pancho Villa, because we couldn't let these, as your President Trump says, these rapists have independence.
People who wanted to see their ordinary friends and relatives and family have a stake in government, and not just because they were rich bastards. That's how dangerous they were, and it's a very, very dangerous idea.
The
I
same
agree.
rapist that your President Trump and criminals
Not my
who's
president.
says is crossing the border and he wants to build a wall to
He's the
stymie,
rapist.
or the same people, the same scum that revolted against the legitimate government of Mexico, and
What
I had
made
to
it
send
legitimate?
I had to
They came
send
in and
I
they
had to
conquered
send
them.
Marines down there to quell that revolt.
wait a minute.
I sent General Pershing down there.
Very good move,
well, of
as
course,
as
but
they
you
say
see,
nowadays, Mr. Wilson. Good call.
but this is again, in this show, Masters of the Universe, and you two gentlemen very succinctly articulated to our audiences why it is that we need to discuss this. Because you've got back to the Haitian Revolution, the whole notion that the United States would feel that it has an interest in another country, such that the citizens of that country should not be able to flourish. Because with all of the natural resources that are in Haiti, there is absolutely no reason that Haitians should be living in the kind of poverty that they are living in. And it is all because of, just as the general has just said, they have these oil reserves. They can't touch because the United States views those oil reserves as the oil reserves for the United States.
They live in poverty because they're not industrious, they're lazy,
Oh,
the
come
same
on.
way the people in this country.
So how does this all tie in with the Powell manifesto we started with?
Well,
Does
the
he
Powell
advocate
Powell
that there's
manifesto,
an elite class
I
that
faced
should
a
take
similar.
over?
I faced a similar thing because during my administration, the Communist Party was growing by leaps and bounds,
Well, it's no
and
wonder
our
the way you
capitalist
reacted to
system
people.
was threatened by it. And I ordered my Attorney General, Mr. Palmer,
I
to raid the
remember.
communists and to put them in jail. And this is way before Eugene McCarthy and President Eisenhower came along. And any time there is a threat to capitalism and to our
You guys-
business interests from the left,
Your business interests.
we have to stymie it.
You
I
pretend
agree
it's
with you.
democracy, it's
Because
your
the
business interest.
wealth of America
Your business
is
interest.
based on the wealth
Guess what,
of,
Mr.
of the
Wilson? I'm not
investor
interested
class,
in your business.
the investor class, my class,
Not
Mr.
interested.
Dulles' class, Secretary Dulles' class,
Here,
and
here.
when we get more wealthy, the whole country is better off.
Nonsense.
No, no.
I agree.
No,
I'm sorry,
Wholeheartedly.
General.
There is a big difference between protecting your interest and stealing people's wealth. It's a big.
That's a very big difference.
Yes, and you Bolsheviks were out to steal the wealth of the
Well, there was
American
never-
investors.
There was never.
It was their
where is
land.
your background to say that Haiti was subjected to communism? I mean,
Right.
where does that come from?
Revolution in any form is a threat
Yes,
to the
it's a threat to
capitalist order.
capitalism and our
so
business,
any revolution.
and it's a threat to our business interests. That's why we had the big stick policy. That's why we had, and Taft and myself had dollar diplomacy to make sure our business interests in the Caribbean were not overturned by revolutionaries, whether they be in the left, which many of them were, or just they wanted independence
So
and they
you
wanted
have a
economic
favored
freedom for their own
position, and
country.
you're not going to let.
And wait a minute, and that's a good place for us to end this segment on. I mean, believe it or not, we're actually at the end of tonight's episode. This is as much as we can talk about, and we
If
will,
we have to.
if we have to. But what I want us to do is that we are going to come back. I'll invite you back next week so that we can pick up where we left off, because it is important for the audience to understand we're dealing with these gentlemen who believe they're masters of the universe, and it's still going on.
We
So
are the
I-
masters of the universe, and we shall remain so.
on behalf of all
God
of my
forbid.
guests, I would ask you to tune in next week for part 2 of this conversation across time. I am Vivian Crawford, Babette Josephs, my co-host, President Wilson, General Louverture, and Secretary Dulles will return next week so that we can challenge them on their off-sided notions about the ruling elite. Good night.
Conversations across time, 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 conversations across time.
Oval Office now, the occupant of the Oval Office, President Donald Trump, who has referred to countries that he thinks should be treated. He's talked about immigration. He talks about immigration and saying this country doesn't need more people from shithole countries.
I believe his intentions are correct, that the corporate interests that I have long
Represented.
if you must use that word, are really the best custodians of our nation and our
the corporate
economy and our
interests-
government, and so I concur with Mr. Wilson and Mr. Trump
But-
that
but-
if we were just to allow these interests, these corporations, to do what they do best, accumulate their profits, the nation as a whole would prosper.
If he
And
wasn't dumb as a stump, and he is, we would be in a dictatorship right this moment.
But I
Maybe
am
we
very
need a
glad he is
dictatorship to
dumb.
make
No,
sure
but-
that we don't have
Dumb
to put
or
up with
sick,
any of
we don't
you.
know
Right,
which.
Haiti is not, was not, and has never been a shithole country. It is what made France what it is today, and it is what made the United States what it is today.
Try to talk down to stupid, ignorant people such as I'm dealing with here. I mean, do I have Do I have to put up with it? I didn't
Thank you
have to
very
put up
much.
with it in Sullivan and
We
Cromwell.
pay you salary, yes, you do.
I'm wondering, is
No.
it really
No.
the interest of the American?
Conversations across